Hey everyone, this is Michael at H2X. In this video, I'm going to run through a cooling loads calculation from start to finish, essentially thinking aloud and telling you why I'm doing these steps that I am throughout the whole design process. There's going to be two versions of this video. There's going to be an uncut version where you see the whole process. I designed the whole building, and there's going to be a cut version where I'll show the process for one element, say drawing a room or adding in a window, and I'll then cut to the next step just to keep the overall video length down, just in case you're looking to get through this a little bit quicker. I'll link the other version of the video here. Don't know which way I'm pointing. It'll be in the opposite corner of the screen. I'm in the bottom left. It should be up in the top right. It's mirrored on the camera. But yeah, let's go ahead. Let's get straight into it. Now, I'm starting by essentially creating the project. I'm going to call this one cooling loads example, and I'm going to select the project address first. Now that's going to be used to select the ASHRAE data from Energy Plus, which is the dry bulb and wet bulb temperatures and the solar gain information throughout the year. Now I'm going to use the office address that I'm currently sat in, and that's Millgate, Wigan. You need to select it from the drop down on the bottom for it to register and for you to have the ability to select the weather station later on. I am going to use a project as a template just to show you how to utilize this step. Any project that you've done before in H2X, you can search up and pull in the design parameters from that. And I'm going to do that on this project just to show you how I would recommend utilizing the software moving forward. I think I want mixed use office building, not that one. There we go. We'll take that one. And on here, I'm going to select my workflows. Now, I don't want to do any system design today, but I can change that for later videos where I am going to jump in and do the ventilation system design. I'm going to do the water system design and everything else on this project once it's done. But for now, I'm just going to use the heat load features and hit start designing. Now, that's going to generate my model space. In a second, it'll just load up. And you can see here that I've got my toolbars up at the top. I've got my level menu to the left-hand side here, and I've also got some additional tools to the bottom of the screen. I can go back to the home page by clicking the H2X logo in the top left, and I can access the settings with this button in the top left-hand corner as well. Now, before we add in our plans, we need to make sure that we've added all of the levels that we require. Now, simply on this project, we've got a ground floor and a first floor. To access the details of those levels, click on these three buttons and hit Edit Level, where I'll then be able to alter the abbreviations, the name, but more importantly, the reduced floor level for each of those floors. Now, there's a 4 meter height difference from floor to floor as I'm going up and down that building. So changing that to 4 meters means that the ground floor at 0 meters will have a 4 meter height difference from the ground floor to level 1. This is a absolute value. So if I add an additional level, you can see that level 2 is at 7 meters, giving me a 3 meter height difference from level 1 to level 2. We're only going to deal with the 2 today, though, so I can quickly delete it like that. Now, to add in my floor plans across those different design levels, I just need to click on the upload floor plan tool up at the top here, which will bring me into the floor plan upload menu. Now, if I hit upload PDFs, you can see that I can select the first floor and the ground floor, holding control. That's allowing me to select more than plan at once, and I can hit open. And H2X will then pull those designs in from my system viewer into our in-app viewer here, where we can double click onto those designs to review them and also look at the paper size and scale that have been assigned to them. That's the first floor, so I'm going to assign that to level 1 on this drop down. That's already been assigned to the ground floor, and then we just want to double check our paper sizes and scales here. Once we've done that, we can hit done in the top right hand corner, and then we do have the ability to align the plans to this blue crosshair. You can see by default it will align to the sheet, meaning that we could effectively leave it like this, and assuming that they've been sheeted up in a way that they're central on the plan, we don't have to worry about any additional alignments. However, if you had more than one level on one sheet, for example, or it was built across multiple sheets, or there was just an inconsistency, you can unlock the plans using this padlock button up at the top here and slide them over to the bottom left-hand corner of the building there. Now that's the upload and alignment process. You'll see you do have a menu off to the right here as well, where you can change the paper size. can add a custom scale on there to align 2 points and scale maybe off the size of a door or a known dimension. But the overall process is exactly as I've just shown. Now we can run into the heat load tool design part of this session. Now we have the access to our different room types off the drop down menu at the top here. But before we go into that, we'll just nip into the system settings and run through what we have to have set up before we can run a heat load calculation in H2X, particularly on the cooling loads. Now we've already selected our project address at the beginning, and that's selected our latitude, our longitude, and that'll give us the ability to select our closest weather station to source our Energy Plus data at the bottom here. Now you can see it's already chosen our dry bulb and wet bulb temperatures, our relative humidity, and all of the other information shown at the bottom here. It can also be manually edited by yourself, so you can click on that little pencil button and change the external dry bulb temperature for the peak load. The room settings are on the next tab. This is where we can design our different room types, give internal design temperatures and heat sources, either on an occupancy value or based on on a unit value, such as the number of occupants in a given room. So on average, each of those offices has 20 people. I can update that once I've drawn the room itself to say if there's more or less. And I can also change the lighting parameter. So this is currently giving 10 watts per meter squared, purely on the sensible. We can also alter our fresh air loads. So we can add air changes per hour, liters per second per meter squared, or we can base it on the number of people which we enter when we draw that particular room. These are our custom room types, and you can add new additional ones by clicking new room up in the top right hand corner. Just fill in these details, hit create room, and that'll be selectable. The heat sources are editable in this menu off to the right hand side here. So if I go on the occupancy here, you can see that we've got sensible and latent by unit, or we can change that to by area and alter those values to suit. If it's by unit, you just have to enter the number of elements that are going to be in a given room, either on the settings menu or on the model. You can also add in schedules to say which months of the year those elements will be present and what time ranges throughout the days to go into the peak coincidental load calcs. The constructions are where we set our values for our wall type. So for example, this is our external wall material here that I've made using different material values. Give me an overall U value for the temperature delta T calculation. And we can also set solar absorbance, roughness, and other parameters on there as well. Over on the materials tab, this is how we build up those constructions using elements from this menu that you can create by giving names, thicknesses, conductivity, density, and specific heat values. And they can be saved and templated per job and selected at the beginning of any new design like we did on this particular project. Okay, now let's go into this design process here. So if I select a room type, I can simply draw around those rooms marked on the plan. So left click in each individual corner, like so, and hit escape once we've done it. Now that's one room drawn, and we simply need to click onto it, enter the number of people into that office, which will determine the fresh air load. And then if we go to the internal heat sources, we just want to review the occupancy level. Now that does match up with the number of seats in that room at the moment, but we might need to change it for some of the other room types. When you draw an additional room next to one that's already been marked out on the software, H2X will automatically pick up the internal wall and differentiate it between the external walls. So you can see there, external walls are blue, internal walls are currently grey. Now, if I go up to the room tab up at the top here, I can draw in our office common space and do a left click here to start, left click here, bring that across. I'm holding the scroller button in on my mouse to allow me to pan whilst I'm designing, because previously we would have panned using a left click. A left click now will set a corner point on the drawing. So if we go into here, I'll go just short of this kitchen. We'll design and go around that entire room. There. Now, obviously, the software is cloud-based, so it might not have the reactivity of softwares that are downloaded like AutoCAD or Revit, but if you essentially make sure that you add all of your points, scroll around where needed, don't panic if the PDF takes a little bit of time to load up. It will come back eventually. Just make sure that you add all of those internal corner points. Just like that there. One here. One there. And you'll see that H2X will also give us guides to let us know that we're on 45-degree angles, 90-degree angles, or whatever it does need to be. Now, if we back onto this room, we'll just make sure that we enter that person count for the 20 people. And then we'll draw the rest of these rooms out on this plan. Now, at this point, I will cut for the cut version of the design, and we'll jump back in when we add in additional elements like windows and doors. But if you're staying and you're on the uncut version, yeah, we'll just get the rest of this done. Oh, yeah, kitchen, line that up with this point here. Bring that across. You can see we get the guideline up at the top to give us a vertical alignment with the bottom there. Hit tab to automatically snap that into place and fill in that last corner point. We can also grab the bathroom, line that up, bring that across, get our alignment point for the other corner. Hovering over it, left click there, bring that down, hit tab, and that's been drawn in. Now the bathroom has more than one component list on there. So if I say that we've got 0 baths, 0 showers, we've got 14 toilets. No, we've not. We've got 14 on the level above. Then we've got 10 in that one, 5 either side, and then we've got 0 urinals. That's the ground floor finished. Now, if we go up to the first floor, you can see that we're actually going to be shown a grey outline for all of the rooms that we've drawn below. That way, if you're working with sketch information, say like dimensions provided for a given building, you can draw this freehand. Now, if we go into rooms again, we can go ahead and grab another office, left click there to start, bring that round to here, that to there, bring that to there, bring that to there, and hit escape. Click onto that office, enter the number of people for fresh air, go back over to the office room type up at the top here, left click here, left click here, 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 line our mouse over there to begin with, and then that'll give us our alignment point. You'll notice when we are drawing rooms, we are drawing the circumference, so we need to go either clockwise or anti-clockwise around that room. Left click there, bring that up to here, across, down, there, to there, and then once we've done, hit escape. Making sure that we're adding person count as we're designing, so 20 people in there. There's only 8 people in this one. And then we've got 12 people apiece in those ones on the upper levels. So we'll get this done as quickly as we can. Left click there, pan across, left click there, 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 and across to here, and then down. Hit tab once we get that blue shape, meaning that we don't have to do the rest of those points on there. Office 1, click onto that, over. If we've got anything that we've sort of missed a point on, we can adjust it using these small tags on there. Once we get to here, add in the loads on those rooms, 12, 12. Got that. And then we go over to bathroom. That's there. Number of people in there, 0, 14, 0, and 0. Now that's the building complete from a room's perspective. If you want to adjust things like room heights, you can click onto the center of the rooms. You can scroll down on this menu. You can adjust heights, you can adjust temperatures, you can adjust constructions for the ceiling and the floor, and you can also adjust the constructions for the different wall materials there. So you can see we've got the drop down for the different walls based on what's in the system settings, which are build up of individual materials. Now, to add in the detailed components such as windows and doors, it's just a case of selecting the windows off the drop down menu up at the top here. So left click to start, left click to finish, left click to start, left click to finish. I'm going to go around the rest of the building and fill the rest of these in. I'm going to cut it at this point of the design, and then I'll go in and show you how to make the adjustments either on a bulk basis or on individual windows. If you've stayed with me, the panning whilst you're designing is done using the middle scroller button again. So each left click will set a point on that window. So you want to make sure that you don't use left click to pan at this point. You want to use the scroller button on your mouse. Awesome. Let's go down to the ground floor. Do that again. Perfect. Now with all of the windows added in, to edit them on an individual basis, it's a case of clicking on said window, where you can then alter the length, the height, the sill height, everything like that, which is actually sourced from the system settings by default. But yeah, if we wanted to change that length on there to match what's on the plan, I know for a fact these are 8.5 long. We can change that in here to 8.5, and then we can slide it across there just to line it up with where the window's shown on the plan. Now, if you want to do that on a bulk basis, just do a left click and then a right click, select Windows. I'm going to go with on this level because I'm going to go over to these smaller windows, hold Shift, do a right click and drag from right to left, which will give me this box. Holding Shift will deselect those windows, meaning that I can adjust the rest of them to 8.5. And then I can do the same process, left click, right click, select windows on this level, but then do the Shift select for the other windows that I don't want to add on there. So Shift, change those ones to 3.6. All right, now let's just do that on the ground floor. Left click, right click, windows on this level, 8.5. We accidentally did these ones on the side here, but it's all good because we can just do the reverse of what we just did. So select windows on this level, hold Shift, right click and drag, 3.6. And that's all of them sized up. Okay, now on the different rooms, we might have some other sort of bespoke internal heat sources. So on this kitchen here, I'm just going to do a left click, go to internal heat sources where I'm going to account for a kitchen stove. Here we have one of those, and let's say we have a couple of microwaves. Now these can all be added to in the system settings, so you can have different things on that drop down list, which all have different components on there. Have 2 microwaves in there. And then in sort of the office open space, we do have, I think we'll have like a coffee machine, things like that on there. So if we go on to, I thought I had a commercial coffee machine, but tell you what, let's go for a refrigerator on there, add that to the room. And yeah, we can add those different component loads to these spaces. There's also these tables and chairs for people actually sitting in the cafe. So we've got 4, 12, 24, 36, 40. That's 40 people in there. So we'll go to internal heat sources and we'll add 40 occupants to that space. All right. Now, the solar gain calculations are going to be based on the project location, but also on the orientation of the building, which can be set at the bottom here. So if I rotate that using the arrow button, I'm just going to set north to be 20 degrees on the plan, and then I'm going to run my heat gain calculations. Now, what this is doing is it's calculating the peak coincidental load throughout the year based on the ASHRAE data for solar loads and the wet bulb and dry bulb temperatures. Now, that will just take about a minute to run, and then we'll have a full breakdown on both an hourly peak and monthly basis. See, we're already running through it now. And on here, you can see that the total building has 111 kilowatts worth of heat gain. If we scroll down, we can get a breakdown of the component loads. The majority is due to solar gain. The second one is due to the occupancy, and you can see we have a split between latent and sensible loads on there. If we go over to the hourly tab here, we'll get an hourly breakdown based on the solar loads and also any schedules that we have on our internal loads. We've also got a monthly breakdown of that. On the flip side, heat losses are also calculated based on the external temperature, the air changes, and internal design temperatures, similar to that component of the heat gains. Now, one thing that we have done is we've missed off the doors. Now, we did need to do a redesign. It's a simple case of going adding those additional elements in. So adding our doors here and here on the external. We've only got the two on the external face of the building at the moment. So if we go on there, change that to 1.5 or whatever it is, maybe 2 meters, we can then rerun our heat gain calculations. H2X will factor in those new breakdowns. It'll just take a minute or so to do it because obviously these doors will have different components on there and give you a different breakdown of those calculations. We won't run through it on this video, but obviously after we've calculated all of these results, we can get a full PDF report with everything shown in this breakdown menu on the right, and we can take out Word reports, which will have a breakdown of all of the peak design days throughout the year. Worth showing at this point, actually, that we can do a left click on any room and get the individual room breakdown. Peak, you can see here for that room is July 21st at 8 o'clock. I click onto this office here, that one's September 21st at 12 o'clock. So yeah, there is some diversification going on there as well. Okay, I'm going to leave a link in the end of this video to the twin of this, which is either the uncut or the cut version, depending on which one you've watched first. I imagine if you've watched the uncut version, you won't want to watch the cut version. But yeah, if you did find this video useful, please feel free to leave a like. And if you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing to the channel. Obviously, it really helps if you guys do decide to do that. If you'd like to see this applied onto one of your projects, I'm going to leave a link in the description to our website where you can go in and you can take a look at our other system design elements, but you can also book in a demonstration with ourselves where we can apply this to one of your systems. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.